Okay, I've been an Ohio State fan for a long time, since the 1990s, and it was a very hard time dealing with the Cooper years, and I hope we are not going back that way. Those years made you even want to root for the Michigan side, because I hated Cooper so much because he was such a fucking loser, and I wanted him gone. I don't know how you allow him to go 2-10-2 against Michigan. I think it was 2-10-2 or 2-10-1. Something. It was abysmal. Now, as far as the topic for this episode, it's Kyle McCord. And this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but I did not like him one fucking bit. I thought he was immobile, a damn near paraplegic in the backfield. I think you could have got Warren Moon or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady back there at their current ages and got the same amount of production and probably less interceptions. Maybe a yard or two more in the rushing. I'm also going to talk about his arm inconsistency. Him throw a really good pass once, and then the next 4 plays they would be in the dirt. He would throw an interception, or he would get a intentional grounding. Another thing I'm going to talk about is his supporters. The crowd that would say, well, he went 11-1. And then also the other crowd is, give him a chance, he will improve. That shit wasn't going to happen, and it did not happen throughout the year. I'm also going to talk about Ryan Day and his QB development, the double-edged sword. Kyle McCord was named the starter for the 2023 season. People always get this misconception, well, it's his first year. No, the guy is a junior. And it's not his first year of starting. He started a game in 2021. I remember because I was at that game. I came from the DMV to hang out with my friends, and we went to the Ohio State versus Akron game. I came to see CJ Stroud. And this is another thing. It's a little off topic, but it's important. As far as those people who always say, well, give him a chance, and the 11-1 crowd. Well, when CJ was playing, you guys were calling for him to be benched for Kyle. No, the fuck we weren't. One, we liked CJ after a certain period of time, but we weren't asking him to be benched for Kyle McCord. We were asking him to be benched for Quinn Ewers. And yes, that was still a mistake on the people asking him to be benched, because CJ Stroud is balling right now, and he balled for Ohio State. Now, he did lose to Michigan twice, but those are asterisk years because Michigan was cheating, and we all know that they were cheating. Now, let's get back to that Akron game in 2021. So, he started that game, and when I saw him play, I thought to myself, this guy is hot garbage. Yes, he threw for 318 yards, but when you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you also have Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. So when you have those players, come on now. It's an easy game. And you had Travion Henderson. He was balling. He was 13 for 18. Not bad. That's Akron. He threw for 319 yards. Again, that was good. He threw 2 touchdowns. Come on, man. That's not that great. And also, I remember, I think a lot of those yards were yak. And he threw an interception at that game. And he had negative 14 yards rushing. Come on, man, that's not that great. So let's look at the box score for that. Hey, there's Jack Miller. He got into the game. That's a person that they always say, Kyle McCord, well, he's going to transfer, and he's going to be like the other Ohio State transfer that balled out. I'm like, oh, Jack Miller? Because I know you're not referring to Joe Burrow. Because Joe Burrow ran for 400 yards in 1 year. You're not getting that from Kyle McCord. He is immobile as they come. The guy is a statue back there, and the only reason why he was rated a 5-star is because he had Marvin Harrison on his squad. But let's get back to the Akron game. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 93 yards. Garrett Wilson, 124 yards. Chris Olave, well, he only had 12 yards. Yeah, that's the Kyle McCord effect for you. I wish they had yak on here, because I'm pretty sure when I watched that game, it was like a lot of those yards were yak. In any case, his lack of mobility is a problem. Now, to win a national championship, I'm a firm believer that you have to have a QB that can run for a few yards. Now, you don't need to be Jaden Daniels, Michael Vick, Tim Tebow, Fields, Barrett, or Lamar, but you cannot be a statue. CJ, I know people had a problem with him not running the ball, but you kind of got hints from Fields and CJ that they were advised not to run the ball. CJ was very mobile in the pocket. He would do that QB spin move and do a scramble drill. And then he would still throw a ball on a dime. Now, when we would go see him play, we would say, man, you got an open field. Just go ahead and run. He still wouldn't run, but he would throw a pass. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, that'll do. Now, I'll say that Tressel and Urban Meyer, more so Urban, knew the value of a mobile QB. Tressel had, at one point in time, I think the only immobile QB that he had was Todd Beckman, but he got rid of him and brought in Terrell Pryor and started him really quick. And Tress knew the value. I think he, let me back up. I think he also had Zwick. But Zwick only started it for a few games, and then he was like, fuck that shit. Smith, you get in there and ball out. And that's the problem. And that's why we lost to Michigan for the past 3 years, is because we don't have mobility at the QB. You're basically playing 11 on 10 when you don't have a mobile QB. Does anyone believe Kyle McCord lines up with Travion off to his right or his left in sort of the read option formation? Nobody believes that Kyle McCord is going to run. Nobody believes he's going to keep it. They all would just key on Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Chip Traynor. And another thing that kind of burns me up, it's off on a tangent. I do tangents a lot. I hate it when people compare McCord to Krenzel. And I think it's a lot of people just comparing them because they're white. And I saw a lot of white people doing it too. I don't think they watched Krenzel play like I watched him play. Krenzel was a mobile motherfucker. Let's look at Craig Krenzel's stats. And I think I'll link in the video. There is a highlight video of Craig Krenzel. For y'all that never really got a chance to see him play in person or in real time, he could run the ball. He was not a slow person. He had skills. Now, was he the best passer? No. But boy, he was a winner. He did anything he needed to do to win that game. He took some hits too. I remember the Penn State game in 2002. There's a play where I think Spice Adams hit him. He got hit by the defensive end, and then he got hit by other defensive end, all in succession. He was tough. You look at Kyle McCord, the guy looks like he never stepped foot in a weight room. He looks like a bitch, to not church it up. And I know people were like, oh man, he plays tough. He twisted his ankle. He's been playing hurt. Man, fuck all that bullshit. Man, that guy plays like a hoe. Okay, let's look at rushing for Craig Krenzel. In 2002, he rushed for 368 yards. The man had more yards rushing in the national championship game against Miami than Maurice Clarett. Now, Maurice Clarett, he ran up them guts. Pause. He was excellent in that national championship game. Maurice Clarett, for what we needed, because that defensive line for Miami was tough. But anyway, he ran for another 255 yards in 2003. I don't see Kyle McCord doing that. And as a matter of fact, Kyle McCord in total has ran for rushing negative 65 yards on 32 carries. Now I know QB rushing yards are kind of situational. You can have a QB rush for 132 yards for the whole year and have 7 touchdowns because they'll just give it to him at the goal line. You're not giving anything to that guy. He's frail and slow and indecisive, and he looks scared all the time. I think for QBs to beat Michigan and to win national championships, you have to have a form of toughness and you have to be able to run the ball. If you look at Ohio State's QBs throughout the year that beat Michigan, from JT Barrett to Fields, JT Barrett basically owns Michigan. Cardell Jones, Troy Smith, Craig Krenzel, The one exception probably being Todd Beckman, because I think they just handed the ball off to Beanie Wells 100 times and he got like 300 yards. That's an exaggeration. He may have gotten like 230 yards on 30 carries in that rainy day. And I think we beat them 14-3. That's the one exception. You need mobility at the QB. A decent quarterback with that Ohio State offense can get you 11 wins. But to get to that 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th victory in the year, you need a special QB. A mobile QB is preferred, and Kyle McCord is not that. Now we're going to get into Kyle McCord's arm inconsistency. One scenario is certain if you watch a Kyle McCord game, and I've seen them all. He would throw one good pass and then proceed to throw 3 or 4 bad ones. Of those 3 or 4 bad ones, they would consist of him throwing a pass that would get his receivers fucked up because he would overthrow them or throw them right when a defender is near him. He would throw intentional groundings. Some weren't his fault. I can think of one that wasn't during the Wisconsin game. But then again, he's a statue back there, so he has no scramble game. So once somebody gets past a tackle, then what's there? Nothing. He failed to go through 2 or 3 of his progressions. He would constantly stare down receivers, mostly Marv, because when in doubt, throw it to Marv. And because he would stare down Marv, he would miss wide open receivers. If he's not missing wide open receivers or throwing it to Marv, he is throwing it to double and triple coverage. And again, he would throw interception-worthy passes against inferior teams. But when he got to Wisconsin and he got to Michigan, who had decent secondary, you saw what happened, multi-interception games. And again, I know some people always want to defend him and say, well, hey, the second interception to Michigan wasn't his fault. Well, he's a statue back there. Again, when you're a statue back there, you have no scramble game. What do you have? And he had no pocket presence. Because on each side of the field in the flats, he had Travion Henderson on one side and he had Xavier Johnson on the other side. You could have checked it down, and we have referred to you as Mick Checkdown. And no one would have complained at that point in time of you being that, because Xavier or Travion could have got a chunky yardage. And I know there were 30 seconds left, but we could have kept it rolling at that point in time. Now let's talk about the Kyle McCord supporters. I don't know what they saw in him in the first place. It's like he has some sort of spell on those people. They see him make bad throws, and automatically they start to come to his defense. Some of the defenses that they have are also throwing CJ Stroud under the bus. They see him do stupid shit and they say, well, CJ Stroud's first 2 or 3 games, he did this. They see him with poor pocket presence. CJ Stroud's name gets mentioned. It's almost like criticizing MLM or Herbalife. You get 1,000 weird fucks trying to take up for him. I remember seeing him in the spring game. I was like, man, this guy is slow. And then you had people saying, well, what does that matter that he's slow? Well, now we see why that matters. Throughout the season, he would play below average, and his ceiling would be slightly above average. Some games he would play at a B+ level in the fourth quarter only, and people will forget about his ass play in the first half and third quarter, and they will forget also that that would be the reason why we were falling the fourth quarter for a victory against a team we should have blown out a long time ago. And what I've noticed about Kyle McCord supporters and defenders, they are not Buckeye fans. They're maybe Michigan fans in disguise, giving insincere praise because he gave them somewhat not easy victory, but a surefire victory. Nobody fears Kyle McCord when they play. Or if they're not Michigan fans in disguise, they're just beat writers who see it as a job but have gotten close to him and his overbearing father. And they don't want to lose access to the OSU facilities and Ryan Day and interviewing recruits or the coaching staff. Now, there's he went 11-1, so why get rid of him if he went 11-1 crowd? You can go 11-0 with that talent, with anyone or any game manager. Going past that part is a special QB. Now, I believe CJ Stroud was a special QB, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse. And then there was the give him a chance crowd. he will improve. Kyle McCord is not Cyberpunk 2077, where you can continuously give him patches to improving from launch date. He's not going to get a update that'll fix his glitches with his speed and arm strength. He is what he is. And somewhat, I do kind of believe those crowds, the 11-1 crowd and the Give Him a Chance crowd, I kind of think those people are rooting for Devin Brown to fail or anyone who comes after that. Now, I will say this. I do root for individuals on Ohio State's team, but I root for them for utilitarian purpose. From my point of view, and I'm not the greatest football mind of all time, but I always thought Kyle McCord was a Penn State QB at best, or maybe a 2010s Michigan QB, and I know he just transferred to Syracuse, but when I saw him play, I thought he was going to be transferring to a MAC school. Is Syracuse on that same level? Maybe. Because that's the kind of caliber of QB I think he is. And also the people who did support him or did defend him, they were just happy with mediocrity. And that's not the Ohio State standard. Now, I've been an Ohio State fan for 30 plus years. I've been through the Jim Jackson years in basketball and the later Cooper years. Those were atrocious, as I said at the beginning. I was a Buckeye before he joined the team, and I am still a Buckeye. Now, as for Ryan Day, I think he's a decent coach, but for the 2023 season, I think he opted to have a throwaway year with picking McCord. He wasted a great defense and an excellent receiving and running back core. I do hope that he learned his lesson, but if not, it's the unemployment line.